Positive Lens Podcasts. I'm your host, Scott T. Each week, we will bring you positive law enforcement news stories from across the globe, shared by departments and citizens like yourself. In our Getting to Know Your Local Leo segment, we will speak with a member of the law enforcement community about everyday life and most things non-law enforcement, as we hope to adjust your focus so you see that members of your local law enforcement community are not much different than you and me.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 23, an at-home delivery of a high-risk pregnancy. In this episode, we will be sharing some truly remarkable stories. You will hear about an officer who helps a high-risk expecting mom deliver a baby in her home. Officers being the first on the scene of a house fire with children still inside, and how a dispatcher was able to walk one through CPR until officers arrived. Plus, we will be sharing the wonderful story of an officer visiting a children's bracelet stand on the street corner. Let's get started. Having a child is already stressful enough as it is, and a high-risk pregnancy adds another layer of concern. Now compound that with the fact you're about to deliver the baby early and at home. This is what unfolded with Officer Melissa Bach of the Webster Police Department in Webster, Massachusetts. The story reads, on March 19th, the South Worcester County Communications Center received a 911 call reporting a 37-year-old mom was having contractions. Officer Melissa Bach, responding to another call, took it upon herself to divert to this call as she was in the immediate area. It was reported she could feel the head of the baby. Officer Bach reported that she could see the head and moments later announced via the radio that the baby had been delivered. This was Officer Bach's first time assisting a mother in delivering a baby. What an amazing and beautiful story. For her actions, Officer Melissa Bach received a letter of commendation. Congratulations, your ability to act swiftly and calmly in not just a high-stress environment for the mom, but also for yourself, in that this was your first time delivering a baby. Again, truly remarkable. We could not be prouder of your actions, and the town of Webster is very fortunate to have an asset like you serving their community. We have since learned that the new baby boy is healthy and happy. Congratulations to the mom and the entire family on their newest addition. While it's true that most fire rescues involve the fire department, police officers do find themselves as first on the scene of fires more often than one might think. Recently, Canine Officer Chavez and Officer Cordero of the Little Elm Police Department in Little Elm, Texas, were first on the scene of a house fire where two children were still inside the home. The story reads, yesterday, March 26, Little Elm Police and Fire were dispatched to a house fire in South Paloma Creek. Canine Officer Chavez and Officer Cordero, already in the area on another call, heard the dispatch and raced to the scene, arriving before the firefighters due to their proximity. When they learned two children were still inside the burning home, they didn't hesitate. They didn't wait. They ran straight into the smoke-filled house. Officer Chavez located a young child on the first floor, picked her up, and carried her to safety. Officer Cordero found the teenager upstairs, and together the officers guided her out of the home. They didn't just show up. They charged into the unknown to save lives. They are heroes, and we appreciate them for protecting our community. The actions of Officers Chavez and Cordero are truly heroic. Even without the necessary protective gear, they entered the home to save these two children. We have shared the link to the body camera footage in the show notes so you can check out the video for yourself. The video did not do justice to the true intensity of the situation, as the Little Elm Police Department noted that the body-worn cameras are designed to enhance visibility through smoke, and that the home actually consisted of thick smoke and had near zero visibility. Again, thank you Officer Chavez and Officer Cordero for your true heroism. Officers risk their lives for the members of their community every day, and this is a great example of them going above and beyond their perceived call of duty. This next story is about the hero behind the desk that plays such a vital role in the coordination, accuracy, and timeliness of police officers' response times. The dispatcher is the first person one speaks with when they call for help, and in the mere seconds they need to decipher through one's anxiety, assess the severity of a situation, and coordinate the accurate response. This is not just about answering phone calls, folks. These are high stakes phone calls where actions and results can be the difference between life and death, as was the case with the story that came out a few days ago from the Fairfield Police Department in Fairfield, California. The story reads, in the early morning hours of November 24th, 2024, Fairfield Dispatch received a report of a medical emergency involving a 64-year-old male who was experiencing chest pains. Dispatcher Suzanne Pate took the call and was quickly advised that the man had ceased breathing. While her partner quickly dispatched officers and medics, Dispatcher Pate began administering pre-arrival instructions and walked the caller through giving CPR to the man until officers Lauren Gomez and Jacob Ray arrived. Once the officers arrived, Officer Gomez assumed CPR efforts, with Officer Ray assisting until Fairfield Fire and medical personnel arrived. Once medical personnel arrived, they were able to use a chest compression device and defibrillator to stabilize the patient, and his pulse and breathing were restored. He was transported to the hospital. This is truly an unbelievable act of service by Dispatcher Suzanne Pate. If one had not taken a CPR class, there is a reason these classes are best taught in person and over several hours of time. For Dispatcher Pate to calmly walk someone through the process of administering CPR over the phone, and not just on a stranger, but likely to a loved one, is remarkable. One can only imagine the stress and anxiety this individual was feeling. The continued administering of CPR by Officers Gomez and Ray, on top of the initial CPR instructions by Dispatcher Pate, likely saved this individual's life. The efforts of these individuals led to each of them receiving a well-deserved life-saving medal at a recent employee recognition ceremony. Congratulations, Dispatcher Pate, Officer Gomez, and Officer Ray. Thank you for your service to Fairfield. Our final story comes to us from the Spotsylvania County Sheriff's Office in Spotsylvania, Virginia. Deputy Jared McAllister showed great kindness and made the young girls who were selling bracelets feel very special. But don't just take our word for it. Here is a story that was shared earlier this month. This evening, the corner crew was sitting out making and selling bracelets. I looked out the window once and about had a heart attack because I saw a deputy talking to the girls. By the time I could get outside, he had left. The girl said he was going to come back and buy a bracelet. I smiled and went back inside to finish cooking dinner. About 8 minutes later, I looked again outside, and wouldn't you know, the deputy came back. He gave the girls $5 apiece and got his bracelets. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Deputy, for taking your time to stop and talk to them the first time you stopped, and then keeping your word on coming back. With the job you served and a hectic shift you probably had or will have, you took the time to make 4 girls feel special. We appreciate you. Again, the family learned after the fact that Mr. Deputy was Deputy Jared McAllister. Thank you, Deputy McAllister, for your service to your community. I'm sure the $5 each child received certainly made them happy. But more important, the lesson was that you kept your word. No one would have been surprised or even upset had you not been able to return, except these 4 young girls. You demonstrated kindness and commitment, and this impact could have a profound effect on them going forward. Thank you. We truly appreciate you, Deputy McAllister. Congratulations again to Dispatcher Suzanne Pate, Officer Lauren Gomez, and Officer Jacob Ray on receiving a life-saving medal, and to Officer Melissa Bach for assisting in the delivery of her first baby and receipt of your letter of commendation. To all the officers and departments featured in today's episode, thank you. Many folks see law enforcement as just that, enforcing the law. But the reality of it is this. Members of the law enforcement community perform many selfless acts of service on a daily basis. In some cases, these acts make the news, but most of them go unreported. Thank you again to all the men and women of law enforcement who are serving communities around the globe. May you continue to remain safe in your patrols. God bless.
If you liked this episode, follow us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. Provide us your feedback in the comments and leave us a rating or review. We truly appreciate your opinion. And then follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook to get all the latest updates. Remember, you can always find places that will share negative law enforcement news stories, but here at Your Positive Lens, you will only find your positive law enforcement news stories. Once again, I'm your host, Scott T. Thanks for listening, and we'll capture you on the next Your Positive Lens.